Clash has just dropped one of the potentially best new iterations of disc golf technology. Let's go over if it is actually worth your money or if it is just a flash in the pan, as many people thought the double steady Wild Honey was. Alright, today I have something very interesting. So Clash actually sent out a brand new prototype run of this disc. I have tried very hard to not research anything about it, so after this video I'll actually research what it is and what they're trying to do. But for now I'm just going to throw it like any other disc and kind of compare it to what I think it might be similar to the Wild Honey. Now I know people have very strong opinions about this, and I'm hoping that it is a different prototype altogether, because while I do love this disc, I kind of think the durability might not be there, but with that said, I still do love this run, and I honestly use it for most of my drives, but I'm very hopeful for what we have here, so let's get into it. We have what is called the tone. I can tell it's a salt. Tone implies, I'm guessing, a two-tone. There's a very nice swirly-esque blend to it. It looks really dope. The feel is very grippy. I can tell like my thumb's getting stuck just trying to flick it. And what's really dope is, I don't know if you can tell, there's actually a little engraving in here that says Clash Tone. I don't know how they did that. I don't know any other disc that has it built into the plastic. So really unique, really cool. I think this is probably going to be a slightly overstable driver if I had to guess. But with that said, this is definitely a different take on what a blended plastic is. I'm actually not sure if it's blended, but I'm just gonna assume it is. And comparing this to this, very different. As you can tell, this has like two different plastics inside of it. And actually looking at it, I think this might be a certain type of plastic on the rim with a different plastic inside on the flight plate. I don't know for sure, but that's what it feels like. There's no gap in between the rim and the flight plate. So if they did blend two different plastics, they've done it much cleaner than this, where you can feel every single new divide in the plastic. But with that said, let's rip it, see how it throws, and see if it's worth bagging. All right, got a 370 hole. It's a real test right here is, can I throw it straight with a good amount of distance? And also, side note, let's go Chiefs. 4th Super Bowl appearance in the last 5 years. Love it. But back to Clash and Tone. I'm, again, really loving this feel after throwing it a little bit. I think Clash just does it so right with the way that they create their plastic. Every time I throw, it just feels good out of the hands. That's not to say that I'm throwing great, but it feels good. Oh. That was actually like the exact flight I wanted, just a little bit too far right. It had a great glide. I really like that. All right, I'm gonna do something crazy. Just go straight Anheuser with the Wild Honey. There's just not enough commitment. I'm not sure if this is actually meant to be like the most durable disc, but there is definitely already some wear and tear from just a couple of shots that hit some trees. So I'm not sure if this is actually meant to be like the most durable, or if it's like, since it's a prototype, maybe it's less resistant to tree hits. But with that said, I think it might prioritize grip over durability, but definitely of note that the durability may be less than what you're kind of expecting. All right, next hole 390, definitely an opportunity to grip it and rip it. Really what I'm looking for is just a nice slow pan to the right and then just a little bit of a fade, which I'm kind of expecting out of these two discs. So let's see if I can actually execute. Oh yeah. If anything, that was a little too straight almost. I expected a little bit more fade to the right, but loving that. That was probably 370. I'll definitely track it and see what I got. All right, next Wild Honey. It's just a little bit too low. Definitely a fun time to just kind of let it rip. All right, mine's kind of blown a bit. I actually threw it 400 feet, which is around my kind of max. I get a little bit more when I'm trying to crank it, but to get 400, I can't say I get the too many discs, so I'm very happy with that flight. And the fact that it was so straight, so controlled, really lends it credit, and I'm very happy. Not quite, but wow. 400 is a very good flight for me. Let's go. After a good rip, I feel like I can get up to that basket. And there's something so nice about like flicking straight to the basket. If I can ever like truly commit on it, my putts get so much better. Stress just kind of takes over sometimes. It was kind of a weird thing where I kind of expected playing with Nicholas in Finland, that stress would really arise. But I think it was just such a skill disparity that I was like, doesn't really matter, we're good. But especially in tournaments, in previous years, I felt like my stress was kind of taking over. And I think a certain level of confidence and a certain amount of apathy is kind of what you need to perform, especially in tournaments where it gets a little tight. Because like playing in a playoff in MA1, wow, so much stress normally, but I was just kind of locked in, wasn't super worried about it, and it definitely made me perform better. But with a lot of tournaments this year already scheduled, I am certainly going to strive towards being a more consistent player under stress. Because honestly, I feel like I'm probably closer to 930 under normal conditions, but the stress takes over and it makes me perform way worse on up shots, way worse on putts. So let's do well. I often over crank the shot, so I'm gonna try not to. All right, somebody's playing the next hole. I think one thing that is important to note is that yes, these are prototypes, so you don't ultimately know how well they're gonna fly for you, but I feel like often reviewers, including me, will kind of make a rash assessment about how these discs will fly and the durability. But truthfully, you don't know. These are prototypes. They will change over time. I really like the way it feels, I like the way it flies. I like the way that it has a little bit of understability. I like the really translucent flippy-esque flight plate and a pretty stiff rim. These are all great characteristics, and so while it may be really expensive, I don't actually know the price, I'm guessing that it is just kind of trying new things out. And I feel like experimenting in the market is just so important right now, because especially for big brands, the new stuff is generally just a repeat or a reblend of other stuff. But when companies like Clash try to try out something new, I think that should be rewarded, not penalized. There we go. That's how you do it. Didn't overexert, got a nice flight, didn't feel like it was out of position at any point in time. So let's see if I can repeat with Wild Honey. I didn't commit as much, but still, hey, we're up there. Flipped on me, but made the gap. All right, even though it was worse than my first shot, still perfectly fine position. Loving that. Oh, pretty close. Probably the best test of does this have a very good flight, because this is a 360, but it feels a lot closer to 400. You have trees on the left, trees on the right, a huge creek, so you really have to get it past the basket almost, which I think shouldn't be an issue with these discs. It's just a matter of, can I get a good enough flight to get all the way across? I'm thinking yes. This is definitely a power shot where form goes to die, so I definitely have to focus on good release. Looking super cool. Looking good. Come back. Oh, parked. I don't know if you can see that, but that is actually parked. Let's go. Very rare occurrence for me. That had a lot of glide to the right. Very good flight. I don't know if I could do it again, but hey, we got it. All right, with Wild Honey, I know it's gonna flip, so I'm gonna throw it a little bit of hyzer too. Oh, it's a lot of carry to the right, come back. Oh. Am I goated or what? I thought that was actually going in for a bit, but good stuff all around. Let's go. That was probably one of my best shots of this hole ever. And as you can see, it was back to back. Now, can I make my putts? That's the real question, but this is a video about the tone, not about my putting. All day, all day. Oh, not two time, but hey, we take those. It's always funny how those driver putts always go in, and I went into the creek. Yep, all the way down. That's such a pain. A shot that really requires good distance, good control. So I need to make sure I get it all the way to probably 350, 400. But we have a nice headwind, so might be tough. Good flight. It's way short, but dead center. Can't argue with that. And a nice turn to the right. Loving that. Need a little more height to get more distance, but again, can't argue with it. 350 left. Oh, just has too much carry to the right. It's probably pin high, but 70 feet right, it's not gonna do me any favors. All right, let's give this one a lot of hyzer. Oh, come on, get through. Let's go, tone all the way. Good old salt tone, whatever you call it, salty tone. I'm all for this salt, let's go. Throw it decently well. Definitely getting good distance. And as far as kind of what I expect, I would say I'm pleasantly surprised. I definitely had no clue going into it what it was gonna be. So I'm gonna do a little research after, see if it is doing anything different with the rim and flight plate, if it's doing some kind of over molding, do some research, but overall, really loving it. Last throw of the day with the tone and wild honey. Definitely some understability in both, which probably is what you're looking for as anybody that's like under 950 rated. So while I think there's definitely probably reviews saying this is a little too flippy for them, for the lower arm speeds and lower rated people, I think it's pretty good. And any day that I can throw 400 with one disc is certainly a success for me. So I'm loving it. Oh wow, that's probably going like 350. I cannot say I do that very often with forehands. Let's try some putters. Keep going, keep going. Darn, unfortunate, not my day. I'm probably 45 out. It's a good way to end it. Uphill, 45 footer. With a narrow gap through the trees, which you probably can't even see on camera. Let's give it 4 good attempts. Oh, I thought that was so dead center. Oh, up to the judge. Come on. Let's go, let's go. Rookie run for the win. With that, that concludes the tone review. Overall, loving it. Wow, very smooth. All right, overall, loving it. Is it the best disc of all time? No, but I think it is doing something interesting with the rim and flight plate. Gonna do a little more research about that, but it's certainly something new. I can't exactly pin down what it is, but it definitely does feel in the same vein as the double steady wild honey. And overall, loving it. I will definitely throw it more in my day-to-day practice. Clash just makes great stuff. So with that, that concludes Wild Run. Signing out. Peace. All right, so me from the future, looking at the marketing and kind of how I compare it to my analysis. Overall, I was really digging this disc. I feel like it was actually probably one of the best feeling discs I've ever thrown. And maybe that is just because it's like a brand new disc right out of the box. I had pretty high hopes for it, so I probably have a little bit of bias there. But honestly, in comparison to how the double steady wild honey throws, which is a flip monster, it has great distance, but the reliability is just not always there. This seems to be a much more straight disc that will generate a lot of power. It did have a little bit of flip on me, but I was trying to really rip on it, so I really can't say anything too strong about that. And before I get too deep into the marketing from Clash, I definitely want to say that the durability was probably one of my biggest concerns. After playing a full round and really seeing some pretty big marks on the disc, which obviously could happen to any disc, but it is very interesting that it happened in my very first round. All right, so I finally spoiled myself, and basically what is different is very interesting. Basically, the big difference is that the bottom of the rim is allegedly made with stiffer plastic, while the top is made with grippy premium plastic, and according to the marketing, this technology combines the best properties of two different plastics in completely new ways with three-dimensional appearance. This additionally accelerates the disc's spin speed during throws. All these elements collectively enhance the disc, unlocking its peak performance potential. So basically they're claiming stiffer plastic on the bottom, better grip on the top, generates better speed, generates a consistent stability, and also ending it with claiming that the disc sustains its optimal performance for longer. So I can't necessarily speak to that because I've only had it for a day, but I will definitely say that there were scuffs on the disc in a way that I don't normally see, and I've had discs for like years and they haven't had that same amount of scuff, but that probably is due to the fact that they are using a totally different plastic on the top and bottom. So that's probably why the bottom was a lot less scuffed than the top, because the bottom was just so much more stiff. But according to this marketing and a freaking patent in Finland, this is very interesting. I don't know if it is the future of disc technology. Obviously, I don't know how you work around a patent, especially when it's in a different country, because let's say you're working in the US. Do you have to respect the patent of Finland in Clash? I don't really know. But overall, much like the Double Steady Wild Honey, I am very much down to throw this in many of my rounds because it felt so good. It felt so right out of the hands. I was rounding a little bit at the start of the round and I had some pretty bad throws, but once I kind of got the feel for it, it was definitely feeling very good out of the hands. And after two throws that were over 400 feet, I can certainly say that I get a lot of distance with this. And honestly, the biggest thing I'm looking for is consistent distance. And looking at the disc, it is a 12.5 -1. So definitely makes sense why the disc was flipping on me. And while the grippiness factor may be overstated because in my head it felt grippy, so I probably threw a little bit more confident than normal, I think it is probably a good trend for the future of disc golf to have a blend on the top and bottom, and it will certainly allow the flight plate to be a totally different plastic. And I'm definitely wondering if this is kind of like the same as overmolding. I'm not entirely certain on that because I'm not an expert on overmolding, but with Clash being kind of like the new innovation in disc golf is very exciting, and I cannot wait to see where this disc technology goes because it really has been stagnant for so long. And I'm very appreciative to Clash for letting me try this brand new disc before it actually goes on sale, and I believe they will be selling these pretty soon. But for now, it is only a salt blend, but they said they will be releasing more of these in different kind of molds, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. Overall, loving it. I really want to throw this more and more because it felt so good out of the hands. But with that, let me know what you guys think. Are you kind of thinking it's just a gimmick? Do you think it's actually worth it? I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Wild Runs, signing out. Peace.